And good evening, and welcome to the last biddle of 2021. Welcome, everybody.
Hello. Hello all.
Oh,
If this is your first time to biddle, so you know we're set out to have a talk around we're set to have a talk about tech around a virtual water cooler. Anything that is Linux tech, open source related, is on the table for discussion. We've got some things on the docket. But first, I want to thank Rocco for starting the Biddle community, where I truly felt like a member of the nicest group of people that you see in front of me, that were encouraging and uplifting, and sometimes prodding, but no problem with that. It's actually all good. And they gave me a whole range of abilities and talents that have helped me to move forward in my tech journey. So, does anyone have anything exciting in Linux that they want to share as we start the show off? If not, I'll jump right in because I'm really excited. Got my Santa hat on,
Well, I upgraded my Pop OS during the week.
Yes, and how'd it go?
Good. That's the third upgrade I've done because I've gone from 2004 to, 2010 to 2104, now to 2110. So all upgrades have gone really well. And this is the longest distro I've ever been on. I've been on this since September 2020. So I've been thinking about hopping, but I haven't. But we'll see what happens.
Well, I would say don't break it if it's not broken. I mean, as much as I want to push OpenSUSE on you, I would say if that's working great for you, stick with it, baby.
No, that's not
stick with it.
OpenSUSE.
Colin, do you dual boot or do you just have the single OS?
No, I've got all my other computers around here that I mess around with. So no, on
one
my
per
main
computer
one.
then.
Sorry,
one per computer. Or?
Yeah,
So you don't do dual booting.
I used to, but I don't anymore. But not on my main system. Normally, I don't. But dual booting's fun anyway. But no need to.
It complicates things. If you have enough machines, then why not?
Well, as long as you have a boot partition for every individual distro that you put on, you're all good.
You hope.
Even with Windows.
I've had nothing but problems dual booting in the past, so I just built separate machines for different things, or buy old laptops.
I gave up dual booting in 2004.
So you've been on OpenSUSE since 2004?
No, I haven't.
Oh.
OpenSUSE since 2010 or 11. I faded into it in full-time 2011. But I see Leo joined us. He's a big man on campus. He is a... Oh, I can't hear you.
Oh,
Muted.
Muted.
Oh, man. And he's the professional. I was going to say, he is like the biggest professional on.
I quote Ferris Bueller, professional what?
Well, he's a professional just about everything. Tinfoil hatter. He's a professional at that. He's a professional Linux user space. I hope he comes here to plug that show. I know they got another episode releasing very soon. I got the early access notification today, so I haven't listened to it yet. Well, if you're a patron of Linux user space, you get all kinds of perks. So I'm plugging your show, Leo, and I'm hoping that your mic. Nope, still. Oh, What did you break?
You pulled agenda.
Yeah. So you just keep trying to talk in it, and if you figure it out, great, and just butt right in. But if anyone else has anything else they want to share while we're talking,
you're muted.
No, I'm muted now.
No, you're fine. You're fine, Nate.
Oh, okay.
You're just fine. I don't know.
All right. I freaked out there for a second. I'm like, oh, I didn't touch anything. What'd I do? So yeah, it's very late in the season for me to do this, but I moved this year, and it's been like one project after another, which I anticipated I would have fewer projects here, but whatever. I have my Linux powered festive Christmas lights going. So here's the old board, the one that I burnt up. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, that was last year's. I got a new one and a much better wiring system.
It
but
looks perfectly fine.
Leo's here.
There
Yay!
he is. So, apparently, you have to turn the volume up in Zoom.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. I knew we'd get it eventually.
Oh, what you drinking there, Leo?
A St. Arnold Pale Ale.
Nice.
Sounds fancy.
Cheers.
I've got a blue moon myself.
Hey, I've got a few of those in the fridge. Those are my backups.
Hazy
once I run
IPA.
out.
I have a vitamin drink because if I drink anything else, I get headaches. There we go.
I still eat Flintstone vitamins because I like them.
Because 10 million strong and growing.
You know,
Yeah.
on that note, there's a like it's kind of like a Walmart, but it's not Walmart. It's like a cheap knockoff brand. It's called Meyer. I think Steve knows what those are. He lives in the Chicagoland area. They're from it's a chain out of Michigan, and they have all kinds of like chewable like gummy vitamins for adults. Not the kind of gummies that you're thinking of, Leo. But
I live in Texas. I don't know what gummies you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, Michigan. It's Michigan. Okay. Anyway, and I like it. So like I've actually went from having like pill form, like buying like tablets to buying gummies. They're way more enjoyable. It's like I'm eating gummy bears from when I was a kid. They actually taste good and supposedly good for you. So
Yeah, my mom fed me those Flintstones vitamins. So when I was like, well, I need something because sometimes I eat like crap. So I
Right.
just went straight back to the Flintstones, and they're exactly as I remembered, as sandy and almost good.
Chalky.
Yeah, a little bit of that. But there's some flavor in there that brings back nostalgia every day.
yeah, it's a
Good
texture.
old One daily multivitamin.
Is that a gummy also?
No, it's a pill.
Oh, okay.
I also do Flintstones on principle. The gummies, they always require you to eat two. So
Yeah, that's a good thing.
I'm a one chewable kind of guy.
Well, see, I had like the multivitamins was 2 chewables, and then I thought, well, I'm going to try this vitamin C, this CoQ10, vitamin B, vitamin D, and now I have like a whole gambit. It's like instead of getting like little fun packs of gummies that I give my kids, now I just take a handful of vitamins, and there we go. I think I'm doing something good for myself. I know, we'll see.
It feels nice to eat it. I have no idea if it helps me at all, but I eat it anyway.
I think there's some studies that say it is. I up my vitamin D in the wintertime because of the lack of sun.
Right? Yeah. Same here.
Yep.
Same here.
So Leo, what brings us to your? Why grace us with your glorious presence today?
Well, it's the last one of the year. I can't miss
Okay.
that.
Okay, that's good. Good.
And
So, I mean-
we did PC Linux OS a while ago. So
Okay.
on
Yeah.
Linux User Space. So I feel like maybe I can contribute something because I was responsible for Eris's poll asking who's going to use Trinity desktop. That
Oh
was-
yeah, I forgot to add that poll. Let me add that right now.
that is my fault, and I am very curious if anybody actually took the bait.
And I also know why Leo really loves PC Linux OS. That's a certain picture.
There is a wallpaper that still comes stock with the Trinity desktop. It's like that alienscape. It's like a cityscape with alien-looking stuff in it.
Yeah.
And that when I saw that in our review, it speaking of nostalgia, more of that just hit me right in the face. I loved it.
Yeah.
It's good stuff, man.
That's my login screen. Yeah.
Well, I guess let's get right into it then. Let's go right into the PC Linux OS. So we did have a straw poll, and I see Eris is doing some little updates here. But I'm going to go hop down below whatever he's working. And so how is PC Linux exploration going for you? Now, personally, I selected it's amazing. I loved it. But that was only 12% of responders said that. 20% said it's going okay. 12% said I'm not having a good time with PC Linux OS. 20% said I'm not interested in trying it. 24% says I don't have time this week. Understandable. End of the year, all kinds of craziness going on. 8% said I'm not interested in doing the explorations. And 4% said other, please explain. And I'm not sure what they said. So, did you plan on using Trinity Desktop and PC Linux OS? We had 26% said yes, and 74% said no. And let's see, what's the? Is there another one? Nope, I guess that's it. So there we go. Now we have some rules for any of our Linux distribution explorations or any exploration that we do here on BDLL. And the intent is to talk about the different aspects of the OS in this case. Discuss your experiences after using it. This is a discussion by which should be objective and constructive, and that will be productive. Any non-objective opinions like it's garbage is not helpful. But if you say, I wish it had this feature, or I wish it could do something X, Y, or Z, that's totally beneficial. Because we would like to keep this, positive. We don't want to ignore the low lights of the project, but we do want to keep in mind that this is a labor of love. And so let's not poo-poo on the project that we are exploring. It's very important to me because, I can't do any of this stuff. And so I have no room to talk poo. All right. So a little bit about PC Linux OS. Sometimes it's often shortened. I almost had PC TLC, but that's not it. PCLOS. It's a 64-bit Linux distribution with a Plasma Desktop, Mate, and XFC as its default user interfaces. It's primarily free software operating system for personal computers aimed at ease of use and is considered a rolling release, which I did not know that until now. The precursor to PC Linux OS was a set of RPM packages created to improve successive versions of Mandrake Linux, later Mandriva. These packages were created by Bill Reynolds, the packager better known as Techstar. Now, I remember Techstar on the Mandrake forums way back in the day. I don't know if anybody else is around at that time, but he was very active on the Mandrake forums, helped me out numerous times. I wonder if those are on the archive.org. I should have probably checked, see if any of that forum stuff is. So from 2000 to 2003, Techstar maintained his repository for RPM packages in parallel with a PC Linux online site. In an interview with Reynolds, he said he started PC Linux OS to provide an outlet for his crazy desire to package source code without having to deal with egos, arrogance, and politics, which that to me sounds glorious. In October 2003, Techstar created a fork of Mandrake Linux 9.2, which I think I have a copy of 9 point something back there, a box copy. Working close with the Live CD project, Techstar has since developed that fork independently into a full-fledged distribution. Although it retains similar look and feel to Mandriva Linux, I prefer Mandrake, PC Linux OS has diverged significantly. The code is officially forked from Mandrake 9.2 into an independent project in 2003. After 3 years of continuous development, the developers took advantage of further development in the renamed Mandriva later 2006 for PC Linux OS 2007. In this release, before 2007, it was normally necessary to perform reinstallation. And they have a bunch more stuff on that. I don't want to go on that too far because they have 1,200 some odd packages of our RPM software. And they have some really neat tools like My Live CD, which allows the user to take a snapshot of the current hard drive installation, all the settings, applications, documents, etc., and compress it into one ISO, CD, DVD, USB image. So you can easily back up user data and also makes it easy to create your own custom live CDs. So they had some ISO options. The official were KD Plasma, XFCE, and Mate. Community maintains LXQt, OpenBox, TDE Mini, which I'm not sure what that is, and Trinity -Big Daddy. And I downloaded it once I saw that. So I'm going to start first with the installation process. How did you, those that were able to try it, how did you feel about the installation process? Or what did you think of it? Whatever verb you want to put in there.
It was much more the sort of that, I guess it's sort of the old style installer where it was much more like, how do I say this? Yeah, it just, I guess that's just it. It felt like more of a image copy. Like it sort of was like I'm not doing I'm doing a terrible job of explaining this. Whereas modern installers seem to have a lot of different options as you go through. This seemed much more like a image. There's an image of the system that you're putting on to the whatever, partition or disks, that you've selected. And yeah, and I don't mean that necessarily in a bad way because it was very sort of simple and straightforward. Each successive screen was, this is your task that you need to undertake. So, but it was definitely, it's always interesting to see that it's not ubiquity. It's not, one of the standard installers. It's like MX Linux is kind of the same way, right? They have their own installer and it's different. It's effective, but noticeably different from the everyday Calamares and that sort of stuff. But I didn't have any issues with it at all. I mean, it installed perfectly fine, and yeah. No worries. I chose the KDE. What did they call it? What's the gigantic one? Mega or
Magnum.
Magnum. Thank you.
That's what it
Yes,
was.
pick the Magnum, and it certainly does have a lot of software on it. So, but we'll get into that in a bit.
Yeah, I agree. It is a very simple installer of its own kind. I did enjoy the fact that I saw Drake in the title somewhere, I believe it was on that, and I was immediately excited. Although I was a little befuddled by why it called up GDM initially, but that's neither here nor there. I had trouble with GDM initially, so but how about somebody else that wants to chime in on their experience of installing PC Linux OS?
Well, I installed it, but I honestly can't remember the installation, to be honest. So it was must have been a fairly simple process because it went fairly quickly, I think. It's working well. That's all I know. I installed the Mate desktop, and that seems to be working pretty well. So,
Well, my story is kind of like Colin's, but I installed it 2 years ago. And it's been working fine ever since.
It's really been only 2 years.
At least
Mine's
2 years.
mine's about 5 days, and I still can't remember the install.
So
Probably installing too many things.
Nate, you mentioned in your introduction that they had some issues in the past where you couldn't do a direct upgrade, but that's so obviously if you've had it for 2 years, that hasn't been an issue for a while.
Yeah, since 2007.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I'm actually firing the installer back up just so I can look at it again.
Yeah, I think it was like a nostalgic install, to be honest. It was like going back in time a little bit with the installer, like Eric said. I remember that much of it. It used to be pretty much installing things like that back quite a few years ago, and it was different to what we do today. That's all I remember of that.
Thank you. It's an installation wizard. I think that's the first thing that caught my attention was that they actually, that's a very sort of outmoded, I think, reference anymore. I don't see the word wizard very often anymore. Whereas that was like everything computing was always, there's a wizard. Remember that?
It reminded me of the Image Magic logo. I don't know if you know that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, the first screen it says it's the welcome to the wizard. Second screen is which disk are you using, and you can choose to use existing, erase, or do custom. Yeah, it's like I said, it's just very straightforward. Like this screen is exactly what you need to do here. Do this thing, then on to the next. Very little fluff. It's not unattractive at all. I mean, it works very well.
And there are very few screens too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So I'll do a little bridge work here by watching the BDLL Telegram this last week, and also being part of the PC Linux OS forums. There seems to be a slight divide between installing it on a VM and installing it on hardware. A lot of people don't have any problem on hardware. Even the forum focuses on helping people on VMs.
My VM installed flawlessly. I had not a problem at all.
I only did a virtual machine, and it was perfectly fine for me too. So
I installed it several times.
With the boot splash screen, you see, because of the way the kernel updates have been. The last few kernels from 5.10, I believe, have left out a module that doesn't help Plymouth at all for us personally. So we've had to do a workaround for that, you see. Which was actually we're installing to do the no splash. There's a no splash option in the drop down list when you first start up the CD or USB, I should say, or the image. And afterwards, if you take out no splash out the boot stanza, at the last screen where you got the grub install, you take out no splash there. It just means you have to all the writing going up, but it still boots as fast. Just no pretty picture. But I've noticed today on the forum that has been solved. So the next ISO that will be coming out, all that will be repaired again. We have worked hard on that.
Gotcha.
The only issue I had was with the It didn't like the QXL video driver, whatever that libvirt uses. If I use the VGA video driver, it has no issues.
Oh, okay.
So that was the only issue that I had.
I had
I-
lots of issues.
I tried to install it on a laptop, and I could not get the installer to come up. So I tried a couple USBs. I thought it was my machine. Like I installed other OS on it. It works, but for some reason, when I select the installer, it just comes up with a blank screen. Nothing comes up.
Weird. I've never seen that. That's strange, Donny. I don't even know where to start with that.
So I would say try using the no mode set install option instead. If you go like, I think it's 2 or 3 entries down, it goes into like
I don't get anything. Like my page comes up blank. Nothing.
So you don't
I
get grub.
I don't
Yeah,
get
you-
grub.
Oh.
Yeah, nothing comes up. Like I waited for about a couple minutes, 2-3 minutes, and I just tried reinstall doing my USB again, downloaded another version. I started with Mate, then I went to XFCE, and I got the same thing. So, but I did not try the virtual machine.
Did you happen to try it on another computer other than the one that you're trying on? Maybe it was something to do with the hardware. So I had
No,
a similar issue with a different version of Linux on a desktop, and went and installed on that, and I put it onto another one and went, done.
I didn't because I installed Endeavor OS on it during
Last week?
Little, yep, and it worked. And then when this didn't work, I decided to try Pop OS, and Pop OS worked just fine.
Oh,
Bootloaders. It could be something in your BIOS
It
settings.
could be something in my BIOS. I'm not
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't really troubleshoot a lot and try to get into it, but yeah, that was my experience.
Who knows? It's
Gotcha.
technology. Technology's
Yeah.
finicky.
I remember too, one of the first things I had to do was fix the mouse. There was this weird issue where if you clicked on something, it would load right away without having to click it twice. It threw me off. I didn't know what to do.
A single click for the win.
Should be like the first choice. Are you a single clicker?
No.
So I started off by trying the Trinity one, and I just let it load. I got the grub screen, let it load. And I have my laptop connected to a monitor, so an external monitor through HDMI. The monitor wouldn't show me anything, and then my laptop screen would show the wallpaper, and nothing else happened afterwards. So I reset it, and then I used Safe Graphics, and it said it would drop me down to a basic terminal, but I couldn't get any like input. I pressed the keyboard, I didn't get anything. So I just couldn't get Trinity working for me. So then I went to Plasma. And with Plasma, I let it just start up normally. And what I got was these lines at the top of the monitor. They were like jagged, like colorful. And then they moved to the bottom. So then I reset it again and did the Safe Graphics. This time I did get into the desktop, and I started installing it. I did notice that in the installer, whenever I click on something for the advanced button, it just resets the whole installer. Doesn't matter where I am in the install point. If I look at the options, even if I click cancel or maybe I X out of the pop-up that comes up, it just brings me right back to the beginning. Doesn't matter where I'm at the installer. So I thought that was a little weird. And I wish it didn't force me to install Grub, because I think that's the only option. I have a BIOS, so it forced me to install Grub to the bootloader. But I actually stopped the installer, and hopefully it would work. And then I popped into the other install I had in the computer, but it didn't work. I would get a kernel crash. So then I reinstalled it, and I just let it take over Grub, and I was able to get Plasma working.
It's because when you install PC Linux OS, like within an hour or two, you usually just delete all your other Linux installations. So you need the Grub.
Do you think he was serious?
I think so.
Leo, we're gonna pick on you because you're supposed to be here more often.
Well, hey, go for it. I've missed so many. I feel like I've got like 10 episodes worth of coming my way.
Only
so.
10. I've got about 52 to go through. You're
Did anybody else have any install issues? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, I had some issues with it. Basically, if anybody's followed me on the Telegram forum, you know what I've gone through. But anyway, I installed it several times, multiple times, trying to figure out what to do, that kind of thing. And basically, I had how to install it, but so far it's working good on this machine over here. I finally got it to where it even stays on now. I guess the power setting I found was probably one of the biggest issues I have with it is that everything's kind of hidden in it. And yeah, so there's a lot of hidden features you have to hunt for in the menus to find what you're looking for. And there's like 2 places where I could go to do power thing. When it's on the install itself, I installed it on this machine several times. I could never get it installed on VM on my framework laptop, but I did get it installed on my VM on my Acer laptop. So go figure. I think a lot of it's hardware issues. Seems like this one has more than most.
Could be, yeah. Sounds like a couple of people did have that. And Rick, this was on actual hardware too, right? You said.
Yeah, well, this machine I have a Lenovo Think Center over here.
Okay.
And this
have
my
you
testing desktop, which I use on my hardware stuff.
Got it. Now you said others, so you've used this for other Linux distros and not had any issues, right?
Right.
Gotcha.
Except for well, I've installed Arco Linux on it, and then successfully. But then lately, it seemed like probably a new ISO or something. It's probably getting old or outdated or something. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's the only issue I've had with it.
Hmm.
Installed other ones, I ain't problem.
I know that when we started, not this week, but last week when we did Endeavor, I was using a USB key that was using Ventoy. If you guys have heard of that, so I'd burned that, and that itself was too old, so it caused me all kind of problems that didn't look like the disk's problem. It looked like it was Endeavor, it's trying to start up and falling back to a root prompt, and it had nothing to do with, I guess it got to some sort of sanity check and then failed. It wasn't telling me that on the screen, but that's what was happening. And so I had to actually go back and reformat the USB stick, put a new copy of the ISO on it, and then it worked after that point. So that now that's happened to me, I'm going to have to, every time I have an install issue, I'm going to have to think back and maybe I should try this as a clean install, because Ventoy just lets you drop an ISO file into a folder instead of having to use
That's what I use, Ventoy.
Yeah, so you may want to update it if you haven't updated it for a while on that key.
I used Ventoy to install Endeavor, and it was fine. But I did make sure that I have the updated version though.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. So did anyone else? Did anyone actually get it installed and then move past the first part and actually use it at all this week? Nate did. Peter did.
Oh,
Jinda.
2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Gotcha. So what do you think of the first impression, like sort of logging into the initial system? Did you feel like you were greeted in any way, or did you get started quickly? What did what were your first steps on the system?
I feel like Windows XP hit me right in the face with the Plasma edition. Does anybody remember that? Because that was Windows XP Media Center. There was a whole theme made for just that version of Windows.
Yep.
And it took that original, blue, what was it like?
Blue, and the button was green, I think. or something like that.
Yeah. The start button was green, but it's just that top bar where it added a bunch of glassy effect to it, and I did not expect that at all when I dropped into the live version. And I don't know, I kind of appreciate it though. I feel, again, there's just so much nostalgia with with this particular distro.
Now, one of the things I like about Trinity is it does give you a retro feel to it.
You know, I was actually thinking about that, like just as we're discussing that. What makes it feel old? Like what is the actual? Is it just a? Is it a culmination of things, or what is it that actually says this is older than Plasma or GNOME today? Although I'd argue GNOME doesn't look modern, but that's my opinion.
It's Web 2.0. The Windows XP theme on the main Plasma edition still follows a lot of the user interface stylings of Web 2.0, which was throw glass at everything and make it bubbly. That was kind of the vibe back in, I don't know, I guess early 2000s. And
The
that's
Audis.
really, yeah. So I think that's what makes it feel old, but it's not old. I mean, obviously you pop the hood open and you realize it's all modern underneath, but it does have a lot of that lot of that look to it.
Yeah, the panel over here is on this makes it retro feel to me just because of the way it looks, the dipping things, that shading on it.
Yes, and as well. So I mean, you have the Windows XP look and feel to it, but if you remember the menu from Windows 98 or Windows ME, that's pretty much what the menu feels like now. So I think those things make it feel old, but again, old's not really the right word for it. I guess
Retro.
nostalgic may be the right word for it.
I think if you look at it in comparison to the distros we use today, a lot of the login screens and all that are all pretty much dressed up and have a modern feel. Whereas I think PC Linux OS has that nostalgic look about it. So I think that's why it looks, what did you say, old or not old, but just looks not as familiar as what we use today. I think that's probably what struck me the most. Although, regardless of the theme it's using, even though the theme looks a bit old as well, everything just seems to pop out at you on this distro. I found that.
I think there's more letters in the login screen, at least for Plasma one. Usually in the other distros, it's just more symbols, very few words. I don't know if that also adds to it.
Well, it feels like when you use it, even when you log in, because what got me on the login was it asks you for your username, and not just, are you sure this is your username, as in you got to type it in the first time. So if you miss that, like I did, you start typing your password and it's in clear text and you're like, wait a minute, what is this? Why is it? Oh, username. Yeah. That's on me.
See, I'm using the Mate desktop, and normally these days, most Mate desktops that you log into, the panel is on the top. In PC Linux OS, it's on the bottom in a traditional position, which you don't see a lot these days because Mate is normally on top these days, isn't it? I'm pretty sure. I don't use it a lot, but I'm pretty sure most of them are on top.
I've seen it both ways.
You've seen it both ways? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if Debian, the newest version, changed it, but Debian always made you typed in the username whenever you logged in, and the prior versions.
So that's not a PC Linux OS thing. That's just not.
It depends on the distro, I guess.
Yeah.
It's really a
GDM thing.
Yeah, it's the bootloader or the boot manager, or the login manager that's controlling that. And older login managers didn't tend to save the username. You would have to put in both, whereas I think people are very used to now seeing the user and just typing the password.
Well, I'd forgotten that.
Although on the Trinity desktop, I noticed that you can click on your username and it pops it in, and then you put your password in. But
yeah, it's exactly the same.
I don't know if that's the way
all of them.
or not.
Yeah, just to try it. I changed through the configuration tool, I switched from GDM to SDDM, and it's what I would expect to be much more familiar with a Plasma desktop. It looks a lot like KDM. It's not, but it looks more like that screen. So if you go into the configure your computer option under, I think it's security at the bottom. I'm getting in there now.
It's under boot to change
Boot,
more.
yeah, boot, and then you say set up display manager, and you can pick between different display managers. It was GDM to start, and I switched to SDDM, and yeah, it looks much more like, I guess, probably what everybody here would expect Plasma's login to look like.
So I was looking at I think some of it might be the icon style, like the style of icons. I think icons today are less playful and colorful than they were in the Audis. Because if you look
That's
at just
true.
like the for instance, like there's an application called Free File Sync, which I think is a really neat. I haven't tested it out yet, but it seems really neat. It's like you can two-way sync between machines. I mean, there's a lot of applications do that. It's basically probably a front end to rsync, but it's a really neat, like the coloring of it. It's a neat application. It looks like the icons are of like the Oxygen set, which is some 10 years ago now, and it has a kind of a playful whimsy to it. I would say, like the look of it, as opposed to computers today look a lot more serious. The icons are, the flatter. They're also less fun. I mean, they're meant to be. So you can, if you view them in black and white or in color, you get the same information out of it. Well, a lot of these icons don't have that same sort of a look. Little things like that. But yeah, I think it's the icons that actually do it mostly. Maybe it's the fonts too, the font rendering. I don't know. I can't. People say are really picky about font rendering. I don't know that I'm picky, but I can't really pick up. Okay, yeah, elf baby. Picky about. Let me guess. You're the one that has really fancy signatures on the to and from of the Christmas presents. Is that it? Are you that? No,
my handwriting is atrocious, but my
Oh,
fonts
okay.
are immaculate.
So you print a certain kind of font. But anyway, I think it could be the fonts, and maybe someone else can correct me on that one. But
That's the first thing I switched out was the fonts.
I turned it down a little bit. 12 on Open Sans is big. So,
Yeah, and
Okay.
it seems bold, but maybe that's just because it's bigger, not necessarily bold.
yeah. So
Right.
I turned them down to 11. That helps.
So going back to something that was mentioned a few minutes back, that the word "old looking" was used, and I sometimes take umbrage to that term, because I grew up in the era of 80s 8-bit computing, where menus weren't really there. Then I discovered Amiga, and Amiga was amazing for the time, because you had a workbench and you had a mouse and you had a desktop and you had folders, and that was great. But even Workbench of that time, I know that Amiga OS has moved on since then, but the work is still a shade behind things like Trinity. So to me, Trinity is actually relatively modern, and very functional, and I like functional. I don't care for the word old. I prefer the word functional. So Trinity to me feels like I'm at home, and that's why I fell in love with it a couple of years back. I don't use it as my main system. You know why? Solus is my main love, but I've been running PC Linux OS Trinity on a desktop, on a laptop for a couple of years, and absolutely love the functionality of it, and it's a great system.
I totally
don't use it.
understand.
You know what Trinity reminds me of? When you watch a movie and you see that they show like the computer screen.
Yeah.
And it's like it's supposed to look more computer than computer. Like it's, when a hacker is hacking something. That's what.
Yeah.
So Trinity always reminds me of, and not in a bad way, but it just has that sort of aesthetic to it.
A hackery aesthetic.
Yeah, it's like Matrixy kind of thing or something.
Right.
Next week.
Well, it
um,
helps that there's literally a Matrix screensaver built into Trinity. So
Yeah, there is that too.
You know, before Plasma 5, they had screensavers in Plasma. Do you remember that? Remember screensavers? I still think screensavers are a wonderful thing, and I miss them. I remembered, thanks to actually Leo, and I think it was actually one of what you were talking about the Matrix screensaver in a recent episode of Linux User Space, I believe. I think I can't recall which one, but
I talk about the Matrix a lot, so probably
it could be. Maybe it could be a multiple that I'm thinking of. But the one that I really liked was like it's like a 3D Matrix thing, and you kind of like went through the Matrix, and it was just such a neat screensaver. That should just be default, I think, on all modern computers.
Yeah, agreed.
That's just my thought.
I have a
Just
question.
'cause it looks cool.
The perspective of a desktop, I think, to me, I never used Trinity. I think I wasn't around when it was out. And when I came into Linux, it was basically the GNOME 2 desktop. And that's all I was pretty much used to. So for me, looking at Trinity desktop, to me, it looks kind of a little bit outdated, but that's only from my personal experience because I started computers late, I suppose. But so I find it hard to use the Trinity desktop, probably because I never did use it. But the Q4 OS, someone's mentioned here, I have tried that. It's not bad. You can, because they bring some themes like XP themes, I think, for Trinity. I think it was that you could add to it. I think it was the Trinity desktop. I can't remember now. But that's just from my perspective anyway. It looks outdated. But a lot of you guys probably maybe use the Trinity desktop a lot. So that's probably why you guys like it.
Well, now I'm downloading Q4OS to see it because I don't see it again.
You'll have it download in 30 more seconds because you have that gigabit bandwidth. Whatever.
And I was going to say, I've got the Mate desktop and I actually get to click on my username and it just adds me straight in and put a password in. So I don't have to type it. So that's on. I don't know what login manager they're using for the Mate desktop, but it's got a nice. It's GDM, is it? And it's
GDM
modified. Is it an older one or is it modified? Because it's not like your normal
modified.
GDM. It's modified. Okay, yeah. It's got a nice little window with big rounded corners, so it looks really nice anyway. Yeah.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but Trinity is essentially KDE 3.5. Is that correct?
That's right. It's a fork of 3.5.
Okay. So then they are maintaining all the libraries, all the KDE 3 libraries, or have they ported things over to using the newer Qt libraries?
No, it's still using Qt 3 as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
But I've updated it, if you see what I mean. I've kind of took the Qt code and updated it along with the rest of the desktop, so it's working on modern machines.
I got you. That seems like a lot of work, like a lot of pretty huge technical liability.
It is. The reason why I don't release ISOs every month.
One of the interesting things for me was that the app package manager, it actually uses RPM files.
Yep.
Usually that for
It's
RPM.
odd to me. And it's missing certain functions like search function and auto remove functions that you normally get on apt. But I guess that's because it's package man.
Which package manager is that one?
I think
it's
it's
using
apt,
RPM.
actually.
App for
Actually,
RPM.
So what I discovered was that if you want to search for a package, you gotta type apt-cache and then search and then the name of the package. You can't go apt search package name.
All right.
Or
I
you
just
can use
went to
Synaptic.
Synaptic.
Or Synaptic.
Yeah, I like Synaptic. I've always liked Synaptic.
I
thought,
grew up on that one, so to speak.
I remember in the Mandrake days, there was constant talk about dumping URPMI and using Synaptic Package Manager. That was, I guess almost 20 years ago.
And even when I started out on Ubuntu back in 2010 or so, I used Synaptic on there a lot, and I got used to it. But But today was actually the first time I actually updated my system with Synaptic.
Cool.
Yeah, the interesting thing was I saw that Plasma doesn't have Discover installed by default. I didn't try to install it because I didn't want to, I feel like Discover is kind of a crapshoot. So I wasn't sure if it was going to, work or not. But I just use Synaptic because I'm just as comfortable there. Now, as far as the application selection, what did you think of that? I noticed they had all the goodies I thought installed right out of the gate. So things that I use regularly, like Kdenlive, VLC, Handbrake, things like that. A lot of other little toys as well. Did anybody take note of what they had of the installed applications? It seemed like a really nice selection of applications.
Yeah, I thought there was. I thought there was enough. Yeah. Kdenlive, I'm not sure about that one though. I don't remember seeing Kdenlive.
I installed it.
No, yeah,
I installed
was
No, it is. It's installed by default,
Yep,
which is a nice
installed by
surprise.
default,
That must be the Trinity desktop, is it?
KDE.
No, this is just regular Plasma this last time.
I installed Plasma and Trinity. So the Trinity desktop did not have it, but the Plasma did. So like as far as like out of the gate type experiences, like install and go, the Plasma one is pretty close to everything that I have installed in my system. I mean, a few other things, but as far as like the core applications that I need to do the things that I do, so it's pretty it's nice for me, and I kind of like that older style of like back in the day. I would buy the Power Pack edition of Mandrake Linux because it had all 7 CDs of goodness. And remember CDs? Anybody here remember CDs?
Yeah.
All right.
What do you mean? Remember, I still have a sleeve of about 300 of them in my closet. No idea what I'm going to do with.
Coasters. They make great coasters. So, it's always every once in a while I use a CD now, not as often, but like I like that they would install a lot of software out of the gate because I didn't know what software I needed or what was available to me. Like the whole application discovery thing, that was way different, when internet is not like it is now. So, so to me, I thought that was handy, and I understand the arguments. Oh, see, Peter's got himself a sleeve as well. It's probably a pack of 100 right there, I think. Optical media is amazing. I saw a great video on that, but that's a whole other discussion for another time. Anyway, so that I thought that the default application selection was great. Did anybody else was there anything else that people needed to get going?
The thing that was disappointing was they went with K-Wave as opposed to Audacity installed by default. So I had to rectify the situation. But other than that, I think pretty much everything else was installed out of the box that I would normally use besides Telegram and Discord. And Discord, when we did it back in January, was 2 or 3 versions old. So when you installed it, it just wouldn't work. I ended up going the Flatpak route. But this time I took a look and it's current. So you can install and use it and everything's great.
Yeah, sometimes on the smaller packages we don't catch up as quick. Things like kernels and the back end, the actual stability of it, we're pretty hot on. But when it comes to what I would call niche, because not a lot of people use Discord or Zoom or whatever, you can sometimes get a version behind.
I installed the Dark Star version of Plasma, and it was pretty reborn. It's like I wanted it. It just had I think gparted or KDE partition manager or something. A few 2 or 3 more applications. That was it. Everything was basic, like the image viewer, I think Arc or something, and so it was very good from my perspective.
Yeah, Darkstar is the very slimmed down version, so you can install what you need rather than have somebody else fest upon you what endless office suites or whatever. Instead of having all that and all the medias and all that kind of business, it's basically a very basic Plasma skin. And then you say, well, I want to use this web browser and I want to use this editing tool and that kind of thing. So you fasten your own just the way you want it, but that's more for people who already used to Linux and know what the programs are. It's not very good for those new coming from a Windows side. They'll probably know a few Windows programs that Linux has also, but
Ali
Yeah,
mentioned
that's what
kernels.
Darkstar and the minis are for.
Sorry. Ali mentioned kernels. I'm going to tell you from experience that only Arch can compete with PC Linux OS with having the latest kernel installed.
I have to comment now that you're gonna have to put Void in that category. Something that's gonna come out on Monday, but I'll
Okay.
give you a sneak peek. Is that Void won every single kernel battle that we had from 5.15.6,
Okay, fair
7,
enough.
and then 8. Void was a day faster every single time. I was impressed. I couldn't believe it. I didn't think anybody could have beaten Arch, but
Yeah.
color me surprised.
Is it a Zen kernel?
That's
No,
good to know.
just a regular kernel, right? Straight from kernel.org, as far as I could
You'll
understand.
notice that in PC Linux OS though, if the kernel update isn't there for the current kernel as per kernel.org, it's because it's in testing, the major updates. So we have to put it in testing for a little while. And then once we've got all that sorted, yeah, we just fire them out with a machine gun every time there's a kernel update and kernel log. It's done that day within reason.
As far as applications go, I've not made many changes from what Ali had in his ISO. The only changes I did make were I changed he had Brave as a default browser. I changed it to
I'm changing
Firefox.
it back to Firefox.
And I changed the menu on the panel for Trinity to, I don't know the name of it, the Cascade and text menu. I changed it to KBFX.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
I added
Couple of things
Thunar
found-
to the mix.
What was that? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rick.
I said I added Thunar to the mix as far as file
Okay.
managers go.
I was going to say a couple of things I found interesting in applications is under Software Center, they've got VirtualBox, which gives you the option to install. It's not actually
the
install,
VirtualBox
but
Manager.
it's an option to install. And the other thing was that I found very interesting that Google Chrome was actually in Synaptic Package Manager.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was interesting too, because you don't normally see that in any other distro, to be honest.
Yeah, we don't shy away from the proprietary software where people have to have PPAs or whatever. Or the UR, what is it called? AUR? That's it, the AUR for Arch and so on. Yeah,
Right.
we tend to shy away from the proprietary side of things. We'll just put Skype in there, we'll put Zoom in, TeamViewer, Microsoft Edges in there as well, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so that goes in.
Because
Of
I
course,
was
there is
at
flat, but you'd have to sort that out yourself.
Yeah, well, I've got my little script that I put in there, and I used that to install Google Chrome, and it didn't work because of my sudo apt command. Sudo wasn't installed by default. App search, which Aris was talking about before, I couldn't find anything on app search because he said you got to put the cache or something in there as well. So I wasn't aware of that as well. So I thought, and I was thinking to myself, what is this based on? and then I sort of worked it out. But then I started finding that, most things that you wanted was in the Synaptic Package Manager, and there was no need to mess around with a lot of other things. So that was very handy. It's quite easy to get the things that you want in PC Linux OS, I must say.
Yeah, I can only find a couple.
For those programs that are not in there, because it does have a limited repo space on these servers. So we have limited packages that we can put up. But if someone makes a nice comment, say, "Oh, I'd really like to see this," 9 times out of 10, you'll find it in Synaptic the next day. It's been packaged and it's ready for you.
Right.
I've had things like Stremio and Brave actually was one. Yeah, well, that's one. Yeah, the next day there it is for me. I'm going, thank you. Zoom's another one. Yeah.
I think the only thing about Trinity that sort of disappointed me was there was no dark theme that I liked. There's a Trinity theme that's dark, but it's too much color in it. But yeah,
I'll have to
that's
do
the only
something
thing.
about that, Nathan, on the next ISO. Although there's 2 ISOs for Trinity. One I make, which is the Big Daddy, which somebody else has used, and there's a mini TDE, which you noted, that's the Trinity Desktop Edition, TDE. That isn't made by me, that's made by somebody else.
Okay. Yeah, I downloaded the Big Daddy one because it said Big Daddy.
Yeah, Big Daddy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Big Daddy used to be when Techstar first started out doing PC Linux OS, he did things like Big Daddy. He'd done a small one, a mini me, and a Big Daddy back in the day. And I kind of, when I'd done Trinity, because it was like KDE 3.5, I kind of carried on the tradition. That's where that come from. So I just stuff as much software as I can. And if it comes under 3 gig as an ISO, yep, that'll do.
Nate,
That's
I
cool.
think you got to put yourself, especially when you're using Trinity back in about 2004, 2005, where when you turned on your CRT monitor, it was all a light theme. And if you sat in front of it long enough, you'd get a tan.
Right.
So
That was
that's-
the upshot. That was the upshot.
Yeah, that's really why you want the light theme as opposed to the dark theme. So yeah, don't make any changes. Keep
Okay.
it that way.
Dark blues.
I do have still have a working CRT over there that I use for like retro gaming and such. It's it's actually an old CAD monitor, but you know it's nice. And I think I should probably just hook that up to a computer just because.
Yep. Might
Yeah,
as well
get that
set up
Sony
a- set up a-
Trinitron tan.
Yeah, this is actually an HP something. It's really heavy and it's heavy for me, and that's pretty darn heavy. So
Yeah, my brother has one of those upstairs in his room. It's an old CRT hooked up to I think it's a 98 machine.
Hmm.
He plays retro games, and the 98 machine is set up with the original hardware from 98. He went on eBay and built it that way. He's even got like dual Voodoo 2s or Voodoo 3, whatever those video cards are. Excuse me, but so he still uses that to play retro games sometimes.
I'm gonna say,
You
is your
had,
brother's?
I was just gonna say you had a whole electrical circuit installed for that one, right? Because when you turn that computer on, like the lights dim and everything.
Well, he's crazy. He's got a cable going from his room all the way downstairs for extra power. He's got one going into the 220 volt that we have upstairs for laundry setup. He also mines. So
Jason,
he has,
it was a joke. I didn't know it was serious. Wow.
well, that's more for his mining
Look,
rigs.
he's
than the
trying to be
98 machine.
transformed outside, that's what he's doing.
I was thinking it was you had like Clint LGR as your brother or something like that. You know, doing all the retro builds. The
Well,
1998
he's
XP builds.
he's got 95, 98 XP. He's got them all up there. He's got I think he's got the Windows 7, Windows, obviously Windows 10, Linux. He had a Mac, didn't use it. I took it. It's over here. Other than that, though, yeah, he's got about probably 10 plus computers upstairs, plus his mining rigs.
Wow, it's amazing.
Yep, and that's just his hobby. He just does it for fun. He's not even doesn't even work IT. He's a pharmacist.
Oh.
I think we've all lived long enough to see the common use of CRT change its meaning over time. And the other elephant in the room is
Dun, 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 dun.
I just saw your name.
Oh yeah, vanilla
Demonetized.
Ice.
I had to. I couldn't help it. I was like, wait a second.
It's okay,
You're
man.
being funny
Classic.
tonight.
I was
That was
going to
actually-
say
that was actually the original. That wasn't the Vanilla Ice.
Oh,
That
the
was,
Queen
Queen?
Bowie,
Under
Queen.
pressure. Yeah.
under pressure. Yeah.
Yeah. Queen and Bowie, I think.
I just started up Q4OS and it did that delightful login song or sound or whatever. I can't even describe it to you. You'd know it if you heard it. Put a smile on my face. That
See,
was
that's the thing.
Remember, sound was always a thing, right? Logging in, logging out, doing different things on the system. I kind of missed that a little bit.
I thought
So
I saw
I-
a cattail.
left the sounds in on Trinity.
I think it's still a big deal, Eric. I think that login, log sounds are still important to me. I've actually changed all those sounds on all my computers. It's a sound they use in the Enterprise D when they're loading torpedoes or phasers. That loading sound they have, that whatever. I'll send it to you on Telegram.
The only loading sound I have, I turn off all the sounds on the PCs and the Linux machines, all that good stuff. The only one that I leave on is the Mac because the classic Boom, when it starts up.
Yeah, the only one I leave on anymore is the one that that the system is telling me it's melting down. That's pretty much it anymore.
I put
But
that on the alert. The bop, bop, bop.
there you
Alert.
go.
Yep.
Something like that would be fine, right? Like you better
Like
turn this
nuclear
thing off.
attack.
It's gonna be releasing the blue magic smoke soon if you don't. That's usually about it. But Nate, I challenge you now to
Yes.
using only your voice.
Okay.
Re-record all the Star Trek sounds, and then just create a sound pack with them, and I'll make sure it gets into some distro somewhere.
That would be awesome.
The reviews on that would be pretty painful, I think. So I don't know if that'd be a good idea. This person should do something awful to himself. So as far as like your general user experience with PC Linux OS, what would you say are some things you like to say, like just in general? Obviously, we've talked about how it feels a little more nostalgic. It feels more like, Mandrake from, the early 2000s or so. But as far as like other user experience, did things actually work for you? Could you get the applications you wanted? Is this something you could get along with?
I installed a Flatpak, but it did not make a desktop application. So I had to make one myself using the menu editor. So quite easy to do, but I'm not sure if that's normal that it doesn't do that. Most distros do, but
It might be a Trinity thing because I didn't try it on Plasma.
I'm on
On
Mate.
Mate. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, for some reason the extension didn't get updated. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you try just logging out and logging back in? And it's sometimes
Log
like with a
out.
Flatpak.
Yeah, restarted and all that, but
Okay,
didn't
but
make
nothing
one,
doing.
so it's a bit unusual, but
It is unusual.
it happens sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't say why.
I have. I'm not sure how well it would work on the dual screens very well. Maybe it would, but I tried out. I have to nuke my current system or do a boot or something like that.
Yeah, the one thing I was running into is when I installed things like they package Brave, obviously, so I installed that, and Audacity both. They never showed up in the menu, and this wasn't in Flatpak or anything like that. It was just straight from the repo. And even after a log out, log in, they never showed up in the menu. But the saving grace here was that if you typed out the full name, it allowed you to run it through the command line, and that essentially just ran it anyway. But the downside of that is you have to spell out the whole name as opposed to getting BRA and then Brave pops up or whatever.
Leah, what desktop are you using?
This is the normal Plasma desktop.
Oh, okay. Did you happen to right click the menu and do that?
That issue where something from the Synaptic has not popped in the menu.
Oh, I did install the yeah, I installed via apt, so maybe because I didn't install through Synaptic, that had something to do with it.
No, even that, because Synaptic's only a front end to apt at the end
Right.
of the day.
Go Rofi.
So it should have just went straight into the internet section of the menu. I do not know why, and obviously Audacity will go into sound.
Yeah, Audacity should go under sound, I would assume.
Yeah.
But I don't see it there either.
That's where mine is, but yeah, I don't know. We'll have to check that out myself now.
Leah, did you try to right click and edit menu by any chance?
I didn't. I'm sure that would work. Let me see.
I'm just curious to see if they're in there and unchecked, because I've seen that happen sometimes where they get added but they're not activated for some reason, or they're hidden somehow.
Right. I'll poke around for a sec. I'll get right back to you.
It's just that's my mind is where I jump to, like, oh, if I don't see it showing up, because Plasma has a nice menu editor built right in.
Well, that's the first thing I did as well. I went to the menu editor, but I couldn't find it in there. But being a Flatpak in my scenario, probably a little bit different. But yeah, that one's a little bit strange.
My Flatpak should still show up though.
Yeah. Maybe a VirtualBox thing, maybe, I don't know, but you wouldn't think VirtualBox would be an issue with something like that, though. I wouldn't have thought.
Now, once you get booted into the desktop for the first time after install, usually, unless it's graphically related, it's not VirtualBox's issue most of the time anyway.
Yeah.
But in the KDE menu editor, I don't see it in there either. Either no Brave under Internet and no Audacity. No, under sound. But I do have the apps running. Like I said, the only real downside is I have to type out the whole thing.
I'm just reinstalling Audacity now, see what happens. I purged it. I'm actually using that to do it. So I've done the purge and all dependencies, so they disappeared, and I'm just reinstalling it, see what happens. But my internet is so slow, it's only on 64% downloading. Really slow internet here, peeps.
So I don't actually have Audacity in my. I was searching for Audacity in the Plasma version. I didn't have it in the repos. Maybe have to do a refresh, maybe.
You broke it, Nate. You broke it.
Well, I was trying to do those sounds, those Star Trek sounds with my voice.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the system's rejecting me now. It was offended.
Now, you'll probably need to update the repo again. Update Synaptic and then search for it. It's there because I've just installed it. It's fine. 3.1.2 apparently. So, hold on.
That was another thing, by the way. Just about every single distro out there, I would say in the mainstream, is not touching the newer Audacities with a 12-foot pole. Obviously, because of the telemetry, it was on and then it was off and then it was on and then it was off, and then everybody just decided not to deal with it at all. So everybody's stuck on the 2.4 usually branch.
Yeah,
but
we held back until we heard that it was clear, and as soon as we heard that it was clear, it went back in. And
yeah,
went back in.
And that's the other thing nobody else has, though, and it's kind of surprising to me. I think everybody's banking on one of the forks becoming popular or something, but I really appreciate that PC Linux OS just dove right back in, because I'm not sure. I'm not planning on doing any of the deep dives into figuring out if Tenacity is the right thing to do or not. I just need to edit my audio, and the newer versions of Audacity seem to be working just fine. And none of the telemetry, as far as I understand, is on by default. So there shouldn't, ? Be much of an issue installing it. So I appreciate that, though. I really do.
So I'm running 3.0.5 on my main system.
Oh, you're still within the range of everybody being scared of it.
Okay.
Not that you should be. You shouldn't be, but distros tend to be.
I think OpenSUSE is pretty conservative with their all that stuff. They're pretty tinfoil hatty there in that group of people. So
I respect that too. Yeah, but I feel like it's hats off at this point. We're good. We're okay. Let's bump it up.
Maybe. Yeah. As long as they have it all worked out, I don't care. As long as it works. Like, I don't have to have latest, but as long as it like does what I need it to do and does it well, we're all good here.
The thing that was really messing with me was that there was a point between 2.4 and I can't tell you exactly which one it was. Maybe it was 4.0 or 4.1 or whatever, where the noise gate, the one that was produced by Audacity and in the pre-3 versions, it wasn't installed by default, so you had to add it. But it stopped working. Just at a certain point, it would pretend like it was going to work. It would write to your disk like it was going to work, but then nothing happened. And then somewhere around 3.05, it started working again. So I need the newer ones, or I need a really old one. Nowhere in between.
Here at PC Linux OS says 3.1.2.
That's the latest. That's as new as it gets.
Wow. So that's something to put in the mark of why would I use PC Linux OS, is they do run the latest and greatest of at least a lot of things. Not Drake install, but everything else.
Drake install's been around for a while, but it's one of those stable tools where if it's not broke, don't fix it. Well,
I totally agree.
A few iterations though, where there's been some functionality removed that is no longer needed, such as encryption of the bootloader and so on. That was removed because that just caused so many problems having a password for your good bootloader. So it's only just the right, it don't matter.
Yep, 5.23.2 for the Plasma version. That's very new.
While we're still on applications, I'm not sure about because there seems to be a little bit of difference with applications between Trinity and other desktops. Mine's got a lot of archiving tools. It's got free file sync, GR sync, real-time sync, and time shift. So quite a few options there for backing up your system.
Yeah, well, we normally promote time shift in all of those. But
Okay.
whatever you feel happier with, you know.
Personally, myself, I use on my main system here. I use free file sync, which is pretty
Yeah.
awesome. So that works quite well. That one.
So guys, I'm going to take a moment here. In the chat room, we have Paul Anote, who is the editor for the PC Linux OS magazine, which is put out every month, and it's a wonderful magazine. Free of charge, great articles, not just Linux, cooking, puzzles, the whole thing. It's a wonderful magazine. He's in our chat room.
We should put a link to that magazine on the out there.
Okay.
If someone has it. Cool. All right, so the last section is, why should you give it a spin? I think we've covered a lot of things, but I just want to recap the different reasons what makes PC Linux OS great, and just kind of highlight those real quick. So I want to put out there, the latest kernel, even newer than my tumbleweed kernel that I'm, running OpenSUSE. I'm rolling. It's not. I would assume it's on the cutting edge, but apparently not compared to PC Linux OS. That's pretty amazing. A lot of the latest software. What are the things that you should that would be a good reason to try PC Linux OS? Just chime in. Anybody go. Just whatever comes off the top of your head. Feel free.
Recent Audacity without jumping through hoops.
Okay.
It's a rolling release that's very stable.
Okay. Rick, if I think you're muted, or maybe you're not trying not to talk to me.
I'm not muted, I don't think.
Oh, okay. Yep, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to kick something out there?
It's classic.
It's
If you grew up messing with computers, I think PC Linux OS is gonna bring back a lot of the, oh yeah, I know this. Oh yeah, I know this menu. I feel this menu. I know how this works. They have a lot of those classic ideas still added to the distro.
Of course, anything you want to do, it's Linux, you can change it. If you don't like the wallpaper, change it. Don't like the menu, change it.
Now,
I must know.
This might not be for a new user, but one selling point for PC Linux OS is it's not systemd.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's System V. I think I've mentioned that in the Telegram group that it doesn't use systemd, it's System V, and that's been since inception.
Now, if I may ask, why sysv as opposed to systemd?
Oh, the head developer Techstar detests systemd. He tried it. He tried a few homebrew kind of things at his own place, and he's gone no, and none of this. So what he did was we made systemd parallel boot, if you like, which is why it boots so quick. It does quite boot fairly quickly, at least for me. It's because it's actually booting through the init system in parallel, but getting everything in the right order at the same time, which is a feat in itself, but yeah. Well, I've gone deaf.
You're muted, mate.
How does sysv init? Sorry, I keep trying to mute myself because there's some noise back there. How does sysv init handle all the different little fun things that makes using a computer less painful, like the auto mounting of drives, the handling of hardware and stuff like that? Is there some other worker that does that?
And UDEV, they handle the auto mounting. So when you put a USB stick in, it automatically mounts. Yeah, there's no real problems over that, or auto mounting the DVDs, etc. Yes, it doesn't actually need the unit system isn't involved in that at all. And there's no need to be, because other helpers help it along, if you see what I mean, like UDisk and UDEV.
Okay. Like me personally, I'm fine with System D. It doesn't bother me at all. But
No, it doesn't
but
really bother me that much.
I like how everything's the syntax is very easy for starting and stopping services and such. What else could we say about PC Linux OS that makes it a unique distro to give it a try? Or the Trinity desktop. I think if you a ride down nostalgia lane, I mean, it is an older desktop interface. I think it's a nice desktop interface. Nothing wrong with it. It's just
You have to learn it.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, you have to learn
Yeah.
it a bit. There's stuff sad. But otherwise, once you learn it and get it installed, it seems to run pretty good. Peter's had it for over 2 years, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Trinity is still in development. If I remember right, Ali was updated about a month or so ago.
But which one was that, Peter? Sorry.
The Trinity was updated a month or two ago.
November, I believe. It was either.
Yeah.
Was it November? Yeah, I think it was November. Was the last time Trinity was updated for the new 4.11 desktop.
So
No, I think if I had like a free netbook, I'd want to see how Trinity played on an old free netbook compared to Plasma, just to see what the
It
differences
is
would be
lighter
like.
in resources, Nate.
Is it?
It's a lot lighter in resources. Yeah, it's almost open box kind of region for its desktop. But there's a lot of functionality hidden within, even more so than Plasma in a lot of ways.
So, Leo, did I know you? Dan has the tater top, as he calls it. You have something similar.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Did you try Trinity on that system?
I didn't.
Okay.
That laptop is usually reserved for retro gaming and things like. I shove it in the TV stand a lot of times and hook it up to the TV. But I didn't try it. I didn't try PC Linux OS, but that is kind of a good idea. I do wonder how well it would run.
Yeah. It's usually
sorry.
Go ahead.
Is Trinity rolling? Is it a rolling distro? It is, isn't it?
It's rolling.
PC Linux OS is rolling.
The actual
rolling.
base system is PC Linux OS, and I grabbed the Trinity desktop, and I kind of grafted it onto PC Linux OS, and I make an ISO out of that with all the applications I put on, and then I ship it as an ISO.
It seems to have, to me, a one-stop shop in Synaptic Package Manager where it does the updates. I haven't seen anything ask me for an update, so I'm assuming you've got to do that yourself. It seems to have the most up-to-date packages, although I looked for Cherry Tree in the Synaptic Package Manager, and that was only 0.39, and it's up to about 0.99. So that was a little bit of a difference there. Maybe that's not maintained through PC Linux OS as much as the other ones.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, it seems to have most up-to-date software and a one-stop shop with updates as well. So you just got one application to open and sort your whole distro out. So I think that's pretty appealing to a lot of people, I'd have to think.
Yeah, there are, as I was saying earlier, Colin, there are a few programs that are maybe lagging because they're not noted, if you see what I mean. They're not properly being up to date, such as web browsers.
Fair enough.
Common programs. They're almost bang on. And you'll see things in the menu under the software center, things like Libreoffice Manager, which downloads straight from the authors themselves rather than packaging ourselves. It's downloaded, packaged, then installed, which is quite strange.
Oh, so that's what that's for. That LibreOffice Manager actually updates LibreOffice, did you say, or it installs it?
Yeah. You'll notice you'll notice that when it's a brand new LibreOffice comes out, the next day, a friend of mine will package the installer for the new version, and then that will automatically update the LibreOffice. The same goes for VirtualBox and
Nice.
VMware. You'll also see in there VMware Guest Editions installer. That's so when you put it into a VM, you can just run the, instead of going to mounting the ISO in the VM, put in additions, guest additions, you can just click the link and it will automatically install the guest additions.
Right. So they both do the same thing, VirtualBox and LibreOffice Manager. They're updating themselves when you click on that. Does it let you know, or you just click on it and it'll check it out?
When you do an update through Synaptic, and you click on Marker Updates, and you notice that it will say
Right.
LibreOffice Manager has been updated. You know then just to start that installer off once it's downloading. You'll get a brand new LibreOffice downloaded to yourself.
That's pretty awesome, because I was going to ask you about that, because I didn't know because it's under the Software Center. I didn't know why it had a LibreOffice Manager, because I haven't seen that before. So that explains that. That's quite good.
Yeah, that is interesting. Actually, it's the first I've seen that. Even I haven't seen a LibreOffice Manager. Usually, just normally expected the package manager to handle that. But I can see that would probably lower some technical liability if a LibreOffice has their own package manager. Then they don't have to worry about making sure it's taking care of it, I guess, internally.
There you go. There's another reason for using PC Linux OS, Nate.
I'm sure there's lots of them.
Ease of
All right.
updates.
So I think that'll probably do it for, unless someone has anything else they want to say about PC Linux OS. I'd like to select our next distribution to explore over the holiday Christmas time break, whatever you want to call it, New Year's, Boxing Day. So they celebrate in Canada, right? Boxing Day.
England, Canada.
England, yeah.
Yeah, Australia.
I still do.
Anyway, so I think PC Linux OS is a great. I think it's great. I enjoyed it. All the Drake tools made me very happy. So I hope they continue to produce more and more and continue to get better. It's something definitely to keep an eye on, and I certainly will. So for our next distribution exploration, has anybody come across anything that interested them? I think things are kind of slow right now. I know Pop! OS did have the release. 21.10. Should be 21.12, shouldn't it? Case and... What's that?
Sorry. Linux Mint just had a new release too, 20.3.
I see that.
It's
Not
a beta
quite
still.
yet. It's coming. It's coming.
I'm
I'm
it's beta,
excited
sorry.
for it.
Yeah, it's beta. Sorry, I didn't.
The title bars are going to get bigger. The buttons are going to get bigger. I'm looking forward to it. You can test it in beta, but it may be in a week. Maybe it's usually a Christmas present, and it's always a good Christmas.
It's good to have a Christmas distro. Gives you something to do when sitting by the fireplace while the kids are throwing their Christmas wrapping at each other or whatever. I don't have a fireplace.
Right? And candy canes are traditionally mint flavored. So
yeah, or cinnamon.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Eggnog.
Peppermint. What's another OS?
So one thing that we could look at if people were interested, that
Sure.
when like not apparent, is that there was a big release to the Arch installer. You know how Arch has an installer now? That was upgraded recently, like a few weeks back. So that's another possibility.
Arch has an installer?
Yes, has an installer now.
Have y'all done Arch, the Archway on
Yes,
here
we have.
before? Oh.
We
I think
have
2019, I think.
And 3 people did it, right?
it was more than 3 people. I think it was like
It's a few
6 people
I
at
think.
least. 6 people.
Eric had to hold my
Just
hand.
one.
I'm already in
I'm
the
up to do it
process of
again.
remodeling my house. I don't want to have to remodel my computer too.
I think what Aris is talking about, I think, is the Calamaris installer it uses now, isn't it, Aris? Is that correct?
It's a text installer.
It's a text install. Oh,
Yeah. You boot up the ISO, and I think you hit like Arch installer. I don't remember the exact command, but Phoronix made a article about it recently, I think.
Oh, I thought it was calamaris. I must have got that wrong. Interesting.
And then, so I think let's put that on the table as well. Then there's also React OS. So Leah, what are you guys doing next?
Look at you guys getting a sneak peek. It's gonna be NixOS, but I think y'all had just recently done
just
that one,
did
right?
NixOS. Yeah. Yep.
So why shouldn't I do NixOS?
Why shouldn't you do NixOS?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of people that are really harping about the reproducibility of NixOS, but I'm only running it on one laptop. So why should I? Why shouldn't I? Why is that a terrible choice?
I don't think there's any Linux that's a terrible choice. So we did NixOS on November 6th. That's when we did our discussion on it.
I'll go back and watch that one so I can catch the tips before I trip over them.
Okay.
I would totally be interested in something Arch that isn't like a total deep dive in Arch. I like Garuda. I've been away from Garuda, been back to Ubuntu stuff, but there's something about that bleeding edge kernel performance that I've got a taste of. And for some reason, now I'm back to that, wanting to punish myself with all the other, for every awesome thing about having a bleeding edge kernel, there's another side of that knife with an edge on it, just as cutting edge. It's like, ouch, but I like it.
Now, Leah, I will say that I did have troubles with the user added applications. Something about the note that I had there was their documentation of how to install Firefox was not the actual way you had to install it. I had to dig around to find the actual way to install it. So it might be a good time.
Firefox is not installed by default, and it's really hard to install it.
Yeah, I needed to have a machine by its side in order to get it working. So
what's the default install?
So it was nix tac env install Firefox was the correct command, which took me some time to find. And I mean, I spent a lot of time looking because the nixos.wiki did not work. So
it's going to be fun. It's going to be real fun.
So I wanted to mention that Leviticus said that Sorin also came out with their light version recently.
Okay, that's another good one.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm game for anything. So just so you know, this show is continuing next year. So don't worry your pretty little heads, anybody. It's not going away. We're just taking a couple weeks off so I can do some retooling. That's it. So, but outside of that, I'm good for anything. So I guess leave it up to whatever gets the most chatter here. So
did we mention Pop OS came out too?
Yeah, we did mention Pop OS.
Okay.
But Shickle isn't here to push for it. So
and CentOS Stream 9 just came out as well, so you could just base your desktop on that.
I'm game for anything. I like Linux. So I personally believe that all Linux is good Linux. Provisionally, there's asterisk, like there are cases where it's not, but I think most Linux is really, in my experience, has been awesome. The last 10 years or so, I think Linux has just been absolutely fantastic. So even NixOS with its little quirks, it has its awesomeness laced about it. So don't get scared there, Leo. I really enjoyed it too. Less than others.
I wouldn't say I would be scared. I don't know. We did Arch from scratch. I imagine, Linux from scratch is on the docket one day. Gen 2's on the docket one day. Man. Yeah, but not being installed, not having a Firefox installed by default. It's different than the other distros. So I'm looking forward to it.
Is Linux from scratch going to be a double episode?
It's probably going to have to be, just simply because you can't. I mean, you're going to have to compile your kernel on the show. So
I just want to say, Present Arms Linux, thank you so much for joining and getting direct feedback from us, and also contributing your information that to help us to guide our way. Thank you very much. I appreciate what you're doing with Trinity Desktop on PC Linux OS. So please don't stop. keep it going, and you're doing good work.
Thank you very much. I will take on board everything that has been said, and I will put it to the people higher upstairs on the higher pay grade, see what they think, and that's fine. And I will be keeping doing more trinities on the open boxes. That will still be happening. So that's all
Awesome.
good times.
And those of you that did have trouble with it, if you can like do like a little write up, and maybe if you can help generate some bug reports, I know maybe Present Arms can actually help generate some bug reports on that.
Direct message me on Telegram or whatever saying, well, I've had this problem, then just tell me, or even go into the forum itself. That's all good. But yeah,
Okay.
I'll be more than happy to help out where I can. Always open.
Awesome. Just some feedback, because the idea is the more we can help, if we can use this show as a resource to help other distributions become better, that's all the better. That's the whole purpose of this. Just rising tides raise all ships. So.
You always strive to be. Anyway, for those who celebrate, Merry Christmas. For those others, happy holiday. I will see you all soon, and you take care all. Okay. Good night.
Well,
God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Later,
much.
Thank you.
Good to see you, man. It's been too long.
It has. Right. So catching, I saw some chatter there in the text. I'm like, oh, we got to make sure he doesn't just walk off on us without a proper exit. So, all right. So what is it? Are we? This is always the worst part, I think, of the show. It's
MX Linux.
Dark Horse.
I'll add.
We did that one not too long ago.
We did the beta before the release came out.
That's true. We did.
Have we done Endeavor?
Last week.
Last week was Endeavor.
Was it?
Endeavor's good.
Yep.
Endeavor's really good. Yeah.
One other that I know is not Linux, so I mean, feel free to say no. But
No.
one that's been on my mind for a little while is Pro Bono PD. He's the guy that invented App Image. Is working on a BSD called Hello System. And he just came out, just added to Hello System is a Linux compatibility layer that will allow you to run the software that is not available on BSD, but is available on Linux. It will run on Hello System. Well, okay, just like Wine will run Windows software, right? It will run Linux software. So whatever you're missing, just released, you'll be able to use that too. So I've been eyeballing Hello for a long time. I've been trying to bribe Dan into letting me do it. He's not opposed, but I think we're waiting for like a final release or like a major beta or something like that before we dive into it. But I've tried it a couple times on my own. And if you're familiar in any way with the AUR, you'll be able to get any kind of package you want on BSD because their package store system works just like the AUR does.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
So feel free to say no to that, everybody in the chat. But it is interesting, and I do like following along.
Yeah, I need to keep like a running list of all these interesting distributions to try, because I think what I'd like to do, and I'm just gonna say this here openly, I'd like to, when it works out, try and do a distro exploration that is in line with the next release of your show, Linux User Space. So NixOS is next, so probably the one after that. I want to try and coordinate that one as much as possible. This way, it can be more chatter, more crosstalk, more of the funness in the Linux community.
Right. So I will tell you, whenever Slackware 15 comes out, the following distro will be Slackware 15. I've been waiting for so long for Slackware. It's been like 5 or 6 years since 14 came out. So I've been waiting for that one to come out, and then this show came along. I joined the Linux user space, and then we started talking about it and Slackware. So plan on Slackware.
Okay, and I have a confession to make. I've never ever run Slackware ever.
Me neither.
Yeah.
It's fun if you were able to get through a real Arch install. There's no way you can't get through Slackware. Slackware is easier to install than Arch by a long shot. If you can install Void, I think y'all did Void not too long ago, right?
It's been years, I think, for that one.
Oh, okay. So Void is in the same vein where it's like an incursus installer. I mean, you basically just do the steps So yeah, I don't think it's beyond anybody here today. Definitely not as hard as Arch.
Yeah, I don't know if I have enough 3.5-inch floppies on hand to run Slackware. That's my only concern.
Which BSD is that you're talking about, Leo? That's
It's called Hello System. It lives on top of FreeBSD, as far as I understand.
oh, okay. Hello System.
Yeah, and BSDs, you got to be careful. You can't call them a distro because they're not distros. They're
Right.
I don't know what they call themselves, but yeah, Hello
Operating
System.
system.
Yes, that's I think that's really what they're after, right? I mean, they're their own thing, not necessarily derivative of each other, but outside of the kernel that they use.
Right.
Hmm.
Have to check
When's
that
the
out.
last time you
Interesting.
tried Sparky Linux?
I think it was August, if I'm
Yeah,
not
it wasn't that
mistaken.
long ago.
That was real. It was
Couple
actually
of
pretty
months
recent.
back, probably.
Yeah, I'd have to search. Yeah, it was pretty recent that we did Sparky.
Yeah. it
What
was a
Nate's
long
not
ago.
telling you is that when you don't choose one by the end of the show, it's Gentoo.
Pop OS.
That's all day and soft one I heard.
I'm in favor of Pop OS, but I would like for Schickel to be here since he now works for Pop. I'm also in favor of Mint because it's new, and yeah,
So to answer your Sparky Linux question, that was October 2nd.
See, so Mint, I mean, even though Mint is in beta, it'll probably be
not Mint
out.
then.
It'll probably
Oops.
be out of beta over the holidays anyway. So we
Yeah.
could still do that one
Yeah.
and choose to either do it as beta or you can wait till it's released.
So, Colin, you
Christmas-
keep speaking my language, and what I would encourage everybody to do in this case, if you're going to install it for beta, is get involved in the forums and help them squash bugs as this new version starts to come out. And I think everybody's experience will be a million times better by release day.
It says 20.3 Mint should be out before Christmas, according to B Kovacs 7.
Yeah,
It came
I think,
after B Kovacs 6.
Beta was released, what was it, like 4 or 5 days ago, something like that. Usually beta stays beta for maybe a week unless something goes really wrong. So I would imagine the next few days we'll see it.
Okay. Well, then also the other thing would be the Arch. We could do the new Arch installer. So I think I'm down to those, I would say.
So what's our choices, Nate? Can you run through them, please?
So we can do the Hello C, Hello Say, Hello C,
Hello System.
Hello Systems.
Hello Systems. No, I'm getting.
I just read the webpage or the I don't think it's really ready for.
Okay, all right, well, let's knock that one off. The
Pop OS.
Arch, Pop, and Mint. Although I would like to wait for Pop when Schickel can be here, so we can tease certain things ahead of time.
And we just kind of did Arch with Endeavor.
Yeah.
So
is Schickel gonna do a giveaway of like a Galago or something when he comes? I'll be here.
I'm happy with like a T-shirt or even a sticker.
Hey, I'll take a mug. He said he's got 1 million mugs. I'll take one of those too. That's fine.
Yeah, I haven't looked at Mint for a while. Yeah, it's worth looking at.
Okay, I could probably update some documentation I do for Mint as well in the process.
One thing y'all will need to do if you have more modern hardware is look for the Edge edition of the ISO. That's the one that comes with the newer kernel. So if you need a newer kernel in 5.4, make sure you're grabbing the Edge version. Otherwise, it's going to come with 5.4 and it's going to be painful if you have new hardware.
Okay. When you say new hardware, like 6 months, year?
I'd say
15 weeks.
When did 5.4 come out? Kernel 5.4. Whenever that released, if you have
It's
hardware,
2004, right?
Yeah.
Oh no!
Yeah.
It
Right.
got the hardware in the room, and so it should be later than that. I don't know when that was. That must be a year ago, I guess, or something.
Yeah. So I mean, if your hardware's newer than a year, you might look at the Edge version if you have trouble booting up the normal one.
So the Edge, which kernel does it have?
At least 5.11. I don't know if they've dropped 5.13 in there yet.
Are we still talking Linux Mint here? Or?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't realize they put out an Edge version.
It's like the Debian one where nobody knows that there's a non-free version of the ISO because it's like one link underneath 1,000 lines of stuff, but it's there
Right.
and it works really good. Same with the Debian one too.
Huh. Well, there we go.
Yeah, because
Oh, yeah.
the problem with Mint is each update that they do is still kept on the 2004 base. So yeah,
Edge. You could think of the Edge ISO as the hardware enablement version ISO.
Okay.
That keeps track with the Ubuntu hardware enablement. But the base ISO, I mean, they really mean it to be. You install it on a desktop and use it for 4 years, and then you upgrade to the latest and greatest. But yeah, don't
That's
touch it
correct.
in between.
Okay, well, Mint it is. So just to make Leo happy and everybody else and me. I mean, I haven't tried it in a while. I think that it's probably the best.
It worked.
Yeah.
And Leo must be here for the next biddle.
Well, how can I say no at this point?
So that will be the 8th of January. So we won't have it on the 1st because,
The first.
I imagine,
Cheers.
I mean, not because I can't, but the 8th will be better. So, well, excellent. Then Linux Mint on the 8th of January.
Well, I haven't been in Linux Mint for a little while. It's one of my most favorite distros of all time, I must say. And it'd be good to revisit back again, Linux Mint.
Yeah,
It's a lot of people's
Spider
first.
approves.
Yep. It was the one that I Linux Mint was the one that I when I was first entering the realm of Linux was the one I landed on to run as my main machine for a year.
The Linux Mint Edge. So like Leo said, the main release is 5.4. The Edge release is 5.11. The kernel.
Yeah, and when does 5.13 comes out in or is already out in Ubuntu, right?
Let me see what I'm running.
Actually, you know what? I'm
on
looking at
5.13. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on 5.13 as well on Mint. So I would suspect the Edge ISO.
Well,
might
don't
have to
forget
be
too
on
that in Mint, in the software installer, or I'm sorry, the update manager, you can choose your kernel in there.
Yes. So if you need to go back to 11 or you need to go back to 8 or something like that, that's always an
Well,
option.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. You can have more than one kernel, and there's a nice graphical interface to manage them.
If you've ever used Uku, whatever that is, it behaves pretty much exactly like that, where you can have multiple installed and they all get added to Grub and you can choose them on boot, whatever you want. Mm-hmm.
Now, PC Linux has kernel 5.313.15 right now.
No, they got the latest.
So fast. Ka-chow.
Lightning.
I don't follow kernels much or at all, to be honest. But I mean, 5.11 is the latest long-term support, is it?
Yeah.
5.10. 5.10 is latest
5.10 is. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I made the mistake of installing that one on Endeavor, and then it never moved, and I was like, "Why is it not moving?" Oh,
Isn't 5.15 becoming an LTS too?
that might be true. Yes, actually, I'm pretty sure that's right.
Yeah, if you go to kernel.org, it shows all that stuff to you. So the latest release is 5.15.10, and then the mainline, stable, long term, all that stuff. That's a grindy mouse wheel. Nate,
Nate, you muted.
So when I remember to unmute, there is I saw some really interesting news in hardware about, so Rick has a framework laptop. And do we all know what the framework laptop is here? If
Mhm.
not, real quick, for those that don't know, if there is anybody that doesn't know, which if they don't, here you go. It's essentially a modular laptop. So you can change out parts and pieces to suit, and upgrade them like a desktop PC, except in a laptop form. So it to me, it makes sense, especially for reducing e-waste. You can keep reusing bits and pieces and, rather than, take stuff to the e-cycling, you reduce that amount, so the idea is that it's better for everybody, especially, I think it's better for the consumer mostly, and allows you to actually get in and fix and upgrade and whatever things inside of it. So have you seen that Dell is getting in on this game?
It's about
No.
time.
I put a link in the chat and also in the chat. And so what I think is interesting is, so they're doing, it's Project Luna. Yeah, is it Project Luna? Anyway, it's a very similar system, except it looks like the computer is actually in the screen side of it, which seems odd to me. Yeah, Concept Luna. But looks like they are going for a very similar type of a thing, and have a more rebuildable or repairable laptop. So it has aluminum body, and the motherboard will be made out of a flax. I'm not sure about this fiber held together with a water-soluble polymer that makes it easy to break down for recycling. So probably a good thing, but if you leave it in a field, it might not make it, I guess.
But that's a good thing, right?
I think so.
Because if you left it in a field, I don't think you want it anymore.
Well, when I was just thinking though, I've seen like where these some of these like retro machine enthusiasts, they like get this Commodore 64 that was sitting in a field for 2 decades, and then they're able to fix it because they can, and it works, and they restore these things that look like they are a potted plant. Anyway, what I like is the fact that it reduces the amount of big thing is like e-waste, and also it allows you to like more cheaply upgrade your machine rather than buying a whole new machine. You can buy parts, upgrade parts, and replace parts. I mean, how many laptops today can you not replace the stinking battery? I think that's a travesty, and any manufacturer who does that should shame on them. You're awful to the planet, and you should have someone shaking a bell behind you saying shame or something like that. Anyway, yep, go ahead.
This is one of the big reasons why I moved over to ThinkPads in the first place, was because while it's not easy, I mean, you can't just pop out the internal battery of some of these Lenovo's. They don't prevent you from doing it. I mean, everything is fairly easy to rip apart if you want to get all the way down to the motherboard and replace something like that. And the Dell Enterprise stuff, not the XPS, those are meant to be thin, but the thicker enterprise things that you're meant to give to, the Latitudes. There was always a line from the bigger companies that allowed corporate IT to be able to rip those things apart and replace parts. It's the consumer side stuff, the disposable $300 laptops that are, the battery is soldered in, or the screen is not replaceable, or the keyboard is part of the entire body, stuff like that. So I'm just happy to see that it's moving more in the direction. I think Framework really did us a service. And I think that's one of the big reasons why the next laptop I buy is probably going to be a Framework, just simply because this is the thing I've been asking for. And I've said for a long time that if I can get a laptop that I can rip apart, put back together, change some things out, then I have to put my money where my mouth is and have to buy one. And Framework was first to market. They haven't died yet. So that means I'll probably end up with one here in the next year or so.
Yeah, I would say the Framework laptop is also very fascinating to me. It was actually Rick's the first time I saw somebody have, and he held that up in his stream. Was on Wednesday, I think you had a stream.
Yeah.
And it's a good looking machine. It doesn't look like it's a science experiment. It actually looks like a great
thin.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's very consumer forward. It's everything that everybody's been asking for in the cheapy laptops, but it's everything that a enthusiast like you and I and everybody else in here would probably enjoy in a laptop too. Plus the resolution, is non-standard, but I think once Linux gets to the scaling, once we figure that out, then we'll be really good at that.
Well, the one I got is a smaller version, so it's got a 3x2 scale on it, which is odd, a little bit weird.
How
but
did scaling work in it? Is it easy? Does it work?
Well, it sort of worked. I mean, it depends on what distro you're on and what software they have available for it. Like KDE, it worked better, but I was able to get awesome on KDE, and now it works great. I mean, I got my big screen up here, and then I got the smaller screen down here, which has still got all the I have it a little bit bigger than what is allowed to be as far as the resolution. So it's not, everything's not real tiny down there. So, yeah, but it works pretty good right now. That's what I'm on right now.
Nice. That's good to
Awesome
hear.
and
It's encouraging because yeah, it's likely I'll end up with one of these things.
Yeah,
yeah,
I think
the bigger one probably has more of a standard ratio.
so. I have an ultra wide here that I'm using, and Plasma has no problem adjusting to it. So I've never had a screen where Plasma had a problem. So I'm not worried about that at all. You know, if it's a little bit of an odd shape, I mean, as long as the when it's closed, it fits in my bag, I'm okay. I don't really care outside of that. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well,
Like I have
this
this.
probably would do it, but the thing was that I came in, I'd opened it up, and I was on Plasma, the Fedora 35 Plasma, and I opened it up sometimes, and then either the top screen would go blank, or they would reverse the screens on it for some reason. So I'd have like part of the screen on this one, and the whole bottom screen on the top one, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
That's awesome.
yeah,
so,
Plasma is
yeah.
really good about multiple screens and things. The only thing I think gets weird is like the coordinates of your windows, depending on which screen ends up being the default. That's really about it.
Yeah, with Xrender though, with the awesome window manager and the other window manager, I assume you can do this, but Xrender, you can spell out exactly how you want it to be, and it'll be that way all the time. So that's cool.
I've seen those framework laptops pop up on a handful of different YouTube channels that I watch that aren't really tech based, but they do a separate channel that has like a behind the scenes of whatever their production is. And so some of the tech people like are really liking those.
Right. Yeah, I watched the first on Linus Tech Tips. Mouthful. He actually invested in it, from what I was told.
They've
That's
done
cool.
us all a service, I think,
For
pointing
sure.
out the things that we all knew but needed a bigger voice to say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
appreciate that.
So anyway, we are at that time. So what I want to go around the room one last time for the for a last word, but a little bit different. I want to basically say what your wish is in tech for 2022, like something that you want to see happen. Like for instance, I see Leviticus. He wants to see a higher powered ARM laptop, like the Pinebook in 2022. Maybe not 2022. I'm throwing that in there, but I'm assuming. But in the future. So I'm gonna go around, for the last word and say like, what is your hope in tech? Not necessarily prediction, but just like, what is your hope in tech for 2022? So Eric, if you'd like to.
You stumped me,
start.
brother.
I stumped you.
Yeah, I literally cannot think of one thing that I'm like. I think because this year has been so sort of steady state for me. I've just been on. I've been through the whole year. Haven't really been hopping around. I did get a new phone and a new tablet, so I've already sort of got that covered. Yeah, I can't think of anything. Sorry.
It's all good. Then something else. No, traditional last word.
Sorry. Can you tell you threw me with that question? I'm sitting here trying to think of like anything and nothing's popping in my mind. Anyway, well, happy holidays to everybody. I hope everybody has a very, very safe and happy holiday with their friends and family. And hopefully you get everything you asked for.
Not everything you deserve, right?
Yeah, something like that.
All right. Well, thank you, Eric, for being here. You've helped me out so much with the restart of picking up the torch of Biddle, you and Eris and Vash and others. So I do appreciate that. Yeah, and I hope to see you next year when we can kick it off again. Peter, last word, or if you have a wish in tech, a hope in tech.
Like Eric, you kind of stumped me too, but I've seen one thing tonight that I liked. That we're seeing a lot more interaction with the Linux community, especially Leo coming in from Linux user space. We also know that Biddle will be renamed and part of the Destination Linux network. I love that unity that we're all building towards. A lot more communication. I personally used to follow Destination Linux a lot. I have not done so the last while. So that'll encourage me to look into more of the Destination Linux network shows and maybe watch and get more involved in them too. I love community coming together.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there should be more unity than separation anywhere. I mean, because we all like the nerdy stuff, and if the things we don't agree on, we don't agree on. Who cares?
There's one tech wish,
Sure.
I know you share, but will probably never happen. That we could buy an Amiga 1200 with built-in SSDs and all that stuff off the shelf.
There's something very close to that, but we can save that for after the show.
Okay.
So thank you very much, Peter, for being here. I just want to say I'm very grateful that you are able to join as often as you are able to, and I'm looking forward to next year with you as well. Eris, last word, or your tech prediction, or tech hope, not prediction. Everyone does predictions. We don't care about that. I'm always wrong.
So we are doing Linux Mint, the new release, the beta
Yes.
going on new release. Okay, I was checking
Yep.
that.
Yep. We are.
So my tech wish is that NVIDIA would work more with Linux and help us have a better experience overall.
I like that. That would be great. That would just be a wonderful thing if they could. Maybe somehow push some things in the Nouveau driver or whatever. Yeah, that's great. So, Eris, thank you again for all the help throughout the week, all the time with things. You do help motivate me to. You help, further my excitement to doing this every week. So I do appreciate everything you do. Jason, last word and or a tech wish.
Well, my biggest tech wish is that the supply chain will get back to normal so that all the prices that are going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs lately will go back down to normal so that GPUs and CPUs, power supplies, et cetera, blah, 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 all are affordable for everybody. You don't have to buy those terrible pre-builts anymore to be able to afford a GPU. That would be my tech wish. And other than that, happy holidays and happy new year and kitten.
Oh, look at that. Tiny furry creature.
Yep, this is one of the three.
That's cool. Well, thank you very much, Jason, for being here. I'm glad you have been joining again. It's been wonderful to have you. Steve.
Nate.
Nice word,
no
man.
tech wish. I have no idea. Like Eric, I have no idea. But thanks for doing this, and thanks for having us on. And anybody, I'm not doing anything for the next 2 weeks. I got to work.
That stinks, but I understand. Well, thank you very much, Steve, for being here. You've also been a great support behind the scenes, and I look forward to doing more with you next year.
Thank you. Me too.
Colin, last word / tech wish for 2022.
Oh, yeah, tech wish. Well, I still wish for a decent Linux mobile phone. And we all ask for affordable. I don't care if it even has to be a bit more of a cost. Just want it decent and, something that works pretty well. I think we're still a little bit behind there, but there are some works going on. But yeah, I'd really love that. That would be a really great thing to have. Besides that, like to thank you, Nate, for putting this on every week. It's awesome. Eric and Aris and Steve for helping out. It's all good stuff. I enjoy it very much. And I hope you guys have a great Christmas and a great New Year. Take care and enjoy, and see you after Christmas.
Well, I will say you're not alone in that. Joe Panico and I agree too. Love to see an affordable Linux phone that can meet everyone's needs. So I think it's coming. I think we're steadily marching there. I mean, we'll probably, I think within the next 10 years for sure, we'll probably be there.
10 years, jeez.
And also,
10
I
years
have
is
a
long-
question
long
for
time.
you. How does Santa's sleigh work in the southern hemisphere? I'm always confused. Like, there's no snow, so how is it supposed to land and take off?
You leave out a barbecue like set for him. That's how that works.
Oh, okay. Well, it is. I mean, because it vertical takes off and lands, I suppose, too. Probably. I don't know.
I'd have to think Santa's helpers have some sort of snow release under the sleigh for when
okay.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Could be, they're very high tech, those little elves. They know what they're doing.
They are, yeah. Maybe they could kick up some of that GPU production there in the North Pole. Well, thanks again for being here, Colin. I look forward to 2022, you being a part of the show. So, Rick.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was
Glad you
with
could join
Colin.
again.
Huh?
I'm glad you could join again.
Yeah, second time. Hey, I was with Colin on wanting a new phone, a Linux phone. And so that's my tech wish for next Christmas, 2022.
That's a good tech wish.
Yeah.
I would love that.
And also, I've got I think I'm probably going to do Sparky Linux on my show this Wednesday.
Okay.
And not a Linux guru guy for all those out there that don't know.
Yep, Eris put the link to your show in the chat earlier, so
Yeah.
I'm sure someone can throw it up there again. But yeah, I stopped by for a little while, I guess, Wednesday, I think it was, and it was fun. All right, well, I hope to see you in 2022 in
And
January.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you. And you too. Jinda, last word. It was rough putting up with you today, so you don't have to.
Yeah, I know. It's
Yeah.
always rough. Thanks everybody for showing up. Thanks for putting up with me as usual. Tech-wise, I'd like to see the new Raspberry Pi 5 come out. Because I'm a nerd and I like that kind of stuff. But other than that, just everybody stay safe and have a good holiday and hope for the best.
Well, thanks again for being here, Jinda. I know you are a handful to put up with. Always interrupting and everything, I guess. So hope to see you again in 2022 as well. Leo, last word / tech wish.
Yeah. I gotta agree with Jinda on this one. Raspberry Pi 5 would be fantastic. Not that I need it. I still need more Raspberry Pi 4s actually. But seeing a 5 and then drooling over all of that would be cool. The Luna laptop thing that you shared, I think that was my original wish. I want more hardware that we can fix, that we can replace, that we can upgrade, that we can not throw away. That is huge on my list. So yeah, those two things. One's halfway here and the other one is probably already halfway here. We just don't know about it yet. So yeah, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it. It's been a good long time running. I appreciate that you're keeping it going, you and everybody that puts in the work to make this happen. So thanks, and I'll drop in again.
Excellent. I look forward to your drop-ins for sure. And I totally agree that more of the user serviceable hardware, user upgradable hardware. I think that's I think that's the way to go with it for sure. So I'm definitely with you on that.
Yeah,
What do you have,
Jason's
Jason?
teasing me.
Raspberry Pi 4.
Oh, okay.
I need it. I need that one and the one Nate's got and the one that I've got
We
coming.
got this. Yeah, we got the same thing. Nate's got more of them.
And I got some Pi 3s as well. They're already earmarked, so I can't give those up.
Yeah, I got to reset mine up after I set up my stand desk. I haven't set it back up yet.
No giveaways, huh?
Nope. These are beautiful things.
Oh, they are. Love them.
They are, yeah. They're wonderful. Well, Leo, I hope to see you in 2022, and hope you can come back whenever it works for you. It's great having you.
I'll be here. All
He's
right.
got to be here for the Mint one, the Mint show for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure he does.
At least that, yeah.
And yeah, it's my pleasure that to be able to do the show. I get to learn. Basically, it's all self-serving. I get to learn. Everyone else teaches me things, and then I don't actually have to do the research myself because it's a whole panel of people that have done it for me. So that's it. Donnie, last word / tech wish.
Well, for my tech wish, I get a line with Colin, a pro Linux phone. So a price wouldn't shouldn't matter. I think they keep going for a budget phone. I think we deserve a pro phone that works. So that's my tech wish. Other than that, happy holidays to everyone. Nathan and everybody, thank you for putting this together. Happy holiday for everyone, and see you guys next year.
But I super appreciate you joining. It's great to have you, and hope you get to join in 2022 as often as you like.
Thank you.
Scrap.
Thanks for
Play me
having
off,
us on
Johnny.
again. I won't be in town for the next time you guys come around to do this. I will probably be in the woods with a muzzleloader, putting food on the table. So
Do what you got to do, man.
y'all be safe out here in lockdown land, wherever you are. So keep on teching. But
Well-
my wish actually for tech is to find the I just got distracted by a 7-year-old. It's to find something that can help me not be distracted by 7-year-olds. That would be great. No, I was thinking, I
That's why
need
it
to
become
find
12.
the right. I'm remodeling a house right now to move into, and my wish is to find all of the right tech to make that place work, because right now I'm in a 2-story house with a basement, so everything is up and down, which makes Wi-Fi pretty good, and I don't really have to worry about things. The house I'm moving into is a ranch and it's long, so I may end up getting into Wi-Fi repeater land, or just crawl up in the attic and run Cat 5 all through the
Run
house.
your cable early. If your ceilings are gone, or if there's any kind of construction there, run your cable early, and past scrap will appreciate future scrap in getting all that done.
Exactly. I would do the cable method rather than the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I can see the basement before was completely finished, but before we bought it, they tore everything out because there was some water damage. So that's barren. And
Perfect.
not only is the basement barren, so I can see all of that, but when I go into the attic through the garage, I can see from one end of the house to the other. So I can run it in both places wide open right now. So
That's like Leo
Just
said, do it that way.
bite the bullet, get it done. You will appreciate it in a year or two when you're like, why does this Wi-Fi suck so hard?
I just need to figure out where I'm going to put my server rack. That's it.
Not in the basement.
Well, I will tell you from personal experience that I'm not the best guy to talk to about any Wi-Fi, because I just I acquire old crappy routers and I put DDWRT on them, and then I just put them. I put them everywhere, and they seem to all work, and I can go from one place to the other. But I know that that's not the best solution. There's better solutions out there. So talk to a professional like Jason, or I think Eris probably knows better than I do. Pretty much everybody on this panel knows better than I do, because I am so cheap. I don't do the right things.
I think I'm going to go the Cat 5 route and do some PoE for stuff, or maybe Cat 6, whichever works. On
my previous house, when I remodeled rooms, I ran Cat 5 in those rooms because I could. So I run Cat 5 and coax, and I never ended up using the coax. Actually, I just ran them, and then they just cut them off and coiled it up in the ceiling, so the next guy can maybe use it. So who knows? We'll see what happens there.
If you want to future proof, you should go Cat 6A.
Yep, that's the answer.
I mean, or if you can really afford it, you can always go to get set everything up instead of using the gigabit, set it up with the 10 gigabit.
Jason, why stop there? Just do fiber.
Might as well.
I
Don't
mean,
lie
come
us 10
on.
tips.
You might just go. Just do it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I wish we had done when we built this place is set it up with, Cat 5 and stuff. But of course, this was 20 years ago. So
And a quick poll: should I roll my own security, like cameras and everything, or should I just get Simply Safe?
Everybody nodded their head. Let me add my nod to it.
Yes, do it yourself, set it up yourself, and then that way you can control it, you can record it, and you don't have to worry about anybody else having access to it. That's my
Home Assistant. Home Assistant has all kinds of things, and we can talk about that after the show.
Awesome.
So Scrap, I want to thank you for joining and for bringing your guitar, and for playing me off, Johnny. So thank you. I appreciate every one of you for joining. I appreciate you joining in the YouTube chat, any place. The comments that I get, even if they're nasty comments, I still appreciate those because they make me laugh. So thank you for the nasty comments, and I wish you all a wonderful year. Now my hope for next year is much like others. I'm hoping that supply shortages get resolved and that we're able to get our tech kind of like we were, before all the crazy happened. But I'm hoping to continually see like more cooperation between the distros. Like I noticed, like there's it's a lot less, at least maybe in the circles I'm seeing, but a lot less tribalism now than there used to be. And I really appreciate that. People can just work together. Different projects work together. Different, parts of projects, help each other out. There's a lot between like Fedora and OpenSUSE that's been going on for years. I really like that. I like the fact that, even between like SUSE and Red Hat, they're sharing some technology now too. I think that's amazing. I love how snaps, you can use them on all distros pretty much. So they're just the fact that people are being cooperative. I want to see more cooperation in the tech world. I love it. It makes me happy. And I want to thank everyone for being here. I do want to plug some things now. Leo didn't do it, but I'm going to for him. He Linux User Space. It's a bi-weekly podcast, and they do a great show. It's very funny. Leo's not the straight guy on it. Dan is more the straight shooter, and Leo is the he's the funny guy. And anyway, so it's a great show. Make sure you check out Linux User Space. You can pretty much get it in any of your podcatchers if you're still using those things. I am. And then if you like it, sign up, become a patron. Also on DLN Extend, it's another podcast that I'm in with the Destination Linux Network. We have some fun conversations there, and I actually became the gaming enabler on the last show, which we published on Wednesday. It was inadvertent; I didn't mean to, but it did happen. So, also for more things on me, you can go to cubiclenate.com. I got a New Links podcast I do there whenever I get to them. So, but I'd like to thank you all for joining in both the Zoom meeting and in the YouTube stream. I want to thank Rocco again for starting the BDLL community. Eric, once again, for the use of his Zoom account, and everyone involved in making Linux and open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also have fun and enjoy our technology, because Linux truly puts personal back into personal computers. So until next time, see yous.
Bye.
Linux Mint is installed.
Thanks, Tony.
Hey, me too.